I think I just heard one of our guests go, oh my god. 20 seconds. Okay, hold on, almost done. Can I get an extension, please? I need more time. Well, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Think Bigger Live. My name is Jason Stum, your host here on the show that helps you upgrade your automotive digital marketing game today. And I gotta tell you, I'm really excited because we're continuing to break down Google's Dealer Playbook. If we can bring up the graphic here real quick, I'm going to tell you what we talked about on previous episodes already. We covered site experience, specifically mobile page speed on our first episode. And then just on our last episode, we covered everything in the Google Dealer Playbook as it relates to paid search, video, and display advertising. And now it's time to dig into Google measurement and talking about how Google Analytics and Google AdWords can really help you understand the traffic that you're driving to your website. Now, I'm no way equipped to handle this conversation by myself. So I've got three experts who are going to come right in here to talk with me about it. Brooke, Jessica, Alyssa, come on over and let's talk about AdWords and analytics. What's up? With some high fives. There you go. And my crew is pumped up. Thanks for coming on the show. What does it feel like to be live?
Feels great.
Feels great. Feels great. Brooke just got nothing out of it. We're going to loosen you up before we get going. So let's take it easy here first. Thanks for being on the show and to help our viewers understand what we're going to be talking about today. So when it comes to Google's Dealer Playbook, we want to talk about the most important takeaways. And Brooke, in their playbook, what does Google recommend dealers have access to in order to effectively track and measure their traffic?
They recommend that dealers have access to their analytics, and they also have their AdWords linked within their analytics.
So when your AdWords and your analytics are linked, then you're able to actually track that traffic that comes to your website from your paid search ads. Now, if you work with us here at Launch Digital Marketing and Dealer Inspire, we take care of that for you, so nothing to worry about there. But an action step for you guys who might use some other providers of some kind is to make sure you have those things linked. And it's really just as simple as reaching out to your individual providers and saying, hey, talk to each other so we can see our AdWords and our analytics. That's pretty much got it right there, right?
Yep, very simple to do.
Simple as easy. Simple as easy. I shouldn't say things that I wasn't thinking about saying. Okay, so now that our AdWords and our analytics accounts are linked, we can properly begin to track and measure that traffic. So Jessica, according to Google, what KPIs should dealers be tracking?
Yeah, definitely. I can go through that. To kind of back it up a little bit, I do want to talk about the broader categorization of the different types of goals and KPIs dealers should consider. I want to first start off with the primary KPIs. And really what this shows us the level of user intent. So when someone goes on the site, how likely they are to potentially actually go on site to the dealership and buy a car. This would include form submissions and also click-to-calls as well. Then when you get to secondary KPIs, those would be engagement metrics, so bounce rate, pages per session, average duration per session, those things that tells us other things that they do on the site that are still important, but not necessarily a good indicator of the performance of a particular source channel.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, in Google's Dealer Playbook, they do also mention not just form submissions and call tracking, but they also say track your BDPs, and I think we should really talk about that for a minute and really what that means. Can you handle that for me?
Yeah, definitely. It's something really important to talk about because that's something that dealers want to see. They want to see how much cars to actually move for the month or whatnot, or what people are interested in essentially. So Google recommends to create goals based on VDP views. That's something that we do not recommend, only because it can skew your ultimate conversion for a site, certain pages, your channels, and whatnot. Because when a viewer looks at a VDP, it shows intent, but not the same level or same height of intent as a form submission or a click to call. Okay, so that makes sense. So essentially, when Google says in their playbook to track your VDPs, we're suggesting track them, pay attention to them, because there's really good data that it can tell you about your vehicles, but don't necessarily set them as actual conversion goals, lest you screw up your real conversion goals that show the intent to visit the dealership, right? Exactly.
Did I get that right?
Yeah,
I got that right.
Absolutely.
That is awesome stuff. Now, let's see. We just talked about that. So, speaking of changes, right? As things change, you got to keep track of it. And honestly, so much changes that there's no way you can keep track of it all in your head. But Google Analytics has a solution for that, and that solution is annotations. Now, this is something I learned about after I started working here. And mind you, in the dealership, I thought I was like analytics guru, but yeah, apparently not so much. So, annotations, Brooke, break it down for me. Why are annotations important? What's the big deal?
They are actually really important. We push them hard here at launch. An annotation is really just a note that you're making on that account when something happens. So when you have to dig into the data, you can go look at the annotations that are there and say, oh, on this date, so-and-so happened. So there are various things you can annotate. You can annotate when the text on a CTA changes, if a CTA moves, if the homepage goes through a redesign, if budget changes, really anything that happens that would affect the site. Traditional advertising, if you're running traditional advertising, you want to annotate that because that's going to affect the traffic. And all of a sudden, if you had a huge jump in traffic and the next month you had a decrease, we can go and look at the annotations and know what happened during that time.
Gotcha, but I'm guessing this is probably pretty tricky to set up if you've never been around it. Jessica, annotations?
That's me.
That's
and
you.
No, annotations are really easy to set up. I can show you right now.
You can show everybody?
Yeah,
Take my
let's
computer,
do it.
please. Do it.
Alrighty, so if you go all the way to your right on your screen, you will just click down to annotations. Alrighty, so right here we have just a few examples of the different kind of annotations that you can make. The one thing that I will note, when you create an annotation, you want to make sure that it is a public annotation, so anyone else who is on the account can also see that annotation as well. So when you go and click on new annotation, it shows the date right here, which you can change. If, let's say, you forgot an annotation, you can always go back into time and add that annotation per that day. But then you would do right here, just write in your annotation and keep it short and sweet because it only gives you 160 characteristics or characters. And there you go. It's in my annotation.
That is awesome. So where do you, once you add your annotation, where do they actually show up in Google Analytics?
So if we were to go to the audience overview report, there will be a note showing when you made annotations. So let me show you the ones that we added right here. It'll look like a little square with some lines in it. So descriptive. And you click that button and it just scrolls down.
It's right there on the screen. You guys can see that. That's where you see the annotations that you add, so you can get that visual representation of what's going on there. So using annotations, once again, really important. Pretty simple to do. Jessica, thanks for breaking that down. So let's do this. Let's spend a few minutes talking about some useful Google Analytics reports that we use here at Launch Digital Marketing and that you guys can use at home as well. Let's start breaking these down. Jessica, since you got the computer up there, can you throw up the first report we're going to talk about, the audience overview reports?
Yeah, that is actually the report I'm in right now.
Perfect.
So if you go into audience and then click overview right underneath audience, you can pull up this report. And one of the great things that it shows you a trend line of just your overall sessions. You can change it to look at different metrics. So for example, percentage of new sessions or bounce rates. It'll show you per day what those stats were, but it'll also give you an overview of that time frame that you're looking at as well. So total sessions, all users, page user in that time, and then also average engagement metrics, going back to that, pages per session, average session duration, and bounce rate. The one thing that I will note, though, that is really helpful for us when we're digging into data is, even though it is really nice to see data on a trend line, so if you're looking at Q2 or Q3 data, it's nice to see those changes throughout the days, weeks, months of that time frame. It is really, really helpful to look at data year over year. So if you have historic data, it is great to look at comparisons because taking into account seasonality, since it's the same seasonality, you can get a more accurate look at how your campaigns were performing then to now, and all that other useful information.
Right. Yeah. Another great example of that for the business, like when if you're at the end of January, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to look back compared to December because everyone's all those manufacturers trying to get those cars gone. So you might have extra traffic, and January typically a slower month. So go year over year, not month over month. That makes a whole lot of sense to me. What's the next report we got up here? We got the channels report coming up next. What's this one do?
Alrighty, so the channels report is just showing you where your traffic is coming from. A few of the channels that you will come across are organic channels, direct traffic, referral traffic, paid traffic, display, social. All of those channels are really, really valuable to look at when you're just looking to see how each one is performing. Do I need to work on my SEO? Do I need to put more budget behind paid? A lot of those questions will get answered right in this report.
Yeah, and since you have the AdWords and Analytics accounts linked, that's where if you go to source media, you'd be able to see all the paid search traffic in here. And then you can sort by secondary dimension of campaign, and you'd be able to see which campaigns are providing what information. Just a side note is if you're running ads on Facebook or some other platforms, they don't always offer the same capability to link to Google AdWords or to analytics as AdWords does. So for example, we run a lot of Facebook ads, and you might as well, and you would have to add a UTM code to the end of your landing pages in order to get that to show up in analytics. And that way you'd be able to see those ads in here under source medium as well, and it would come from Facebook, and then you would have to add in the campaign name, whatever you want it to be, and it would show up in here as well.
That's what we call pro tip, ladies and gentlemen. Pro tip. Make sure you're tagging those Facebook ad URLs with UTM codes. Awesome stuff. Next report up, all pages report. What's this one all about?
Alrighty, so the all pages report you're going to find if you look under behavior and then look under site content and then all pages. So it's kind of down in the weeds in there. But this page will show you all of the sessions, all of the page views for all of your pages that actually get page views for whichever time frame that you select. So from top to bottom, your most viewed pages to your least viewed pages. This is great because this is where you can actually look at how well your VDPs are doing, how many views that they're getting, how engaged are they on the site with those pages. All you would have to do for a Dealer Inspire site, in this search button right here, you would just type in /inventory/ and it would pull up all of your inventory pages right on the screen, so you can see which ones are performing well versus others.
Let's move on to the next one. Brooke, you want to handle the landing page report?
So just to differentiate, the all pages report that Jessica talked about is going to show all pages that a user views during session. So if a user comes in and views 10 pages, all 10 of those pages are going to be reported in that report. The landing page report differs because it's only showing the page that the user entered the site on, or the one that they landed on. This is important because if you're looking where people are coming to your site organically, you might want to see, are they coming to the home page? Are they coming to just a content page that's on the site? If you notice that a particular page you weren't expecting is high up in the report getting a lot of page views, you're going to want to dig into that because maybe you now have a nationally ranked page. If so, you'd want to annotate that.
Hey!
And I know Alyssa has something to add about this as well.
Yeah, so the landing pages report would be really good to look into if there are certain landing pages that you didn't know were your top pages on your website, or maybe there is one, like you said, that is now suddenly, for this short period of time, an important page to push, and maybe in our paid search efforts we aren't pushing that at the time, so it's something where we could create an ad or a campaign around that page for whatever time being based on this report.
That makes a lot of sense. So let's just I want to circle back to what you said about that, like a nationally ranked page, because this is important if you're producing any kind of content for your website. Hopefully, it's driving traffic to your website, and we've seen this happen before, where we've got a comparison page or some kind of really specific page that is like ranking nationally across the country, and it drives a lot of traffic. Like Brooke said, once you notice that, make an annotation. That is the cause of that, because if you don't update that page and it becomes irrelevant, and you go year over year to measure, because we do year over year, not month over month, and next year you're like, oh my God, our organic traffic was down 35%, you would know that it was that one page from the year before that was driving that traffic. See how we make that's right there. That's how we make all that work together. Yeah. High five at home. Okay, so next we've got, I just totally sidetracked us, but that's what we do here in Think Bigger Live. So the next report we've got is the Goal Overviews Reports.
I'll take this one.
You got
too.
this one? Nice.
I got it.
Do it.
I got it. The goals overview report is just one place where you can come and you can see how all your goals are performing that you have set up on the site. You can change the segment. You could just look at your paid goal conversion, your organic, your direct, your social, however you want to look at it. You can just see all the goals in one spot and how they're performing for a specific period of time.
And there's kind of like a companion report that goes along with that a little bit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So there is another hidden report that people don't really know about.
So pay attention.
It's called the Assisted Conversions Report. The reason why I really love it is because when marketers are going in and trying to figure out how well their campaigns are performing or how well their channel overall efforts are performing, they do it based on conversions, which obviously makes sense. If I'm getting this many conversions, this is how much it costs me to get these leads. The one thing that I do want to, kind of preface with everything is that conversions aren't the end-all be-all. So the Assisted Conversions Report, thanks Brooke, The assisted conversion report helps you get a better idea of how the other channels and how the other ways people can get onto the site actually affects conversions. Think of an assisted conversion just like an assist in basketball. If that person didn't throw the ball to the shooter and that shooter didn't make that shot, how do we know that point would have happened? This is the same thing here. So if, let's say, for example, over a 30-day period, a returning user first enters the site organically and then enters the site with a paid ad and then enters the site again directly, even though direct is going to get the ultimate credit for the conversion at the end of the day, you can still see that organic and paid did play a role. We don't know. Most likely, if you didn't have really good SEO rankings or if you weren't running ads, that conversion might not have happened. So it puts everything into perspective when it comes to your overall marketing performance and how everyone plays well together.
That makes a whole lot of sense. Does that make sense to you guys? It makes sense to me. So there's all these, that's just a few of the reports that you can pull up in the data you can pull up in Google Analytics. But I know a lot of our viewers, they're busy in the dealership, they have all kinds of different jobs they have to do, and they really may not have all the time in the world to spend in Google Analytics on a daily basis. Is there anything they can do to get this information, I don't know, sent to them automatically, some way, shape, or form, Brooke?
Yes, there is. Actually, all the reports and analytics, you can export them and you can have them emailed directly to you. You could do it daily, weekly, monthly, for any time frame you really want. Just specify it. We can set those up for you. If you're with Launch or DI, just let us know and we'll set them up, but they're very easy to go into and just automate.
Automated reports for the win. Okay, so I'm really liking how we're tying everything together with views and annotations and reporting, and really giving you guys watching a great overview on how you can use analytics if you're not all that familiar with it yet. So let's do this now. Let's bring it all home, Alyssa. How do we track what matters in AdWords?
So since we have the accounts linked, it depends on what goal analytics creates that we can then import, and so that's based on whatever the client wants, and it's usually the goals view because that's what we are looking for in paid search, is the conversions and things like that. So whichever goals they create after we import the view, we can then also import the goals that they've created, whether it's 1 or 10 or 20. We can import all of those into AdWords and be able to see information vice versa. So we can get the bounce rate and the page sessions and views in AdWords, and we can also then see our paid search traffic in analytics. Something that we also like to do, since we have our Dealer Inspire websites, is we do something called website call tracking or dynamic call tracking. And that is if you have your phone number on your home page of your Dealer Inspire website, we would be able to change that phone number dynamically based on the user. So if I came in originally from paid search and I'm on the website, I would see a certain phone number, and that is now unique to me. So if I come back a few days later and I just go directly to the website, or I come in from a different way and I want to call the dealership, I would still have that unique phone number, and we would be able to know that that person originally came from paid search, which is pretty cool.
That is, you know what that sounds like?
Assisted conversion?
An assisted conversion, see? It all works together. Well, that's all the time we have today for this episode of Think Bigger Live. Brooke, Jessica, Alyssa, thank you so much. I know this isn't your most favorite thing in the world to do, but seriously, y'all crushed it. I'm so glad you came on the show to help make everybody a little bit smarter about AdWords analytics and Google's Dealer Playbook. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. We'll see you next show. We'll see you guys on the next show right here on Think Bigger Live. See ya. Right, it's a wrap. Great job, guys. Just so you know that
How many hours?
This still rolls for about a minute after we're done. Yeah, we're still live.
I just totally like touching dancing.
That's all right. That's all right. They'll be, you know.
Way to go, Alyssa.
You guys did great.
Way to go. Way to go.
Woo! No one coughed. No one got a case of a dry mouth.
I had no, but I better than that.
It's still live. Let them know what you can do.
You're not showing any of this part though.
Oh yeah.
Credits are
Yeah.
rolling, maybe.
Yeah, there's like a graphical relay.
I can't.
Yeah, well, no, they can hear it. Yeah. All right, turn it up. Turn it up. Turn it up.